All right, baby guest.
Yeah, let's get it.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm glad
Thank
to
you.
have you on today.
Thank you for having
How
me.
you feeling?
I feel good, honestly.
Yeah.
Feel better than I have the last few months.
Yeah, well, it's been rough with everything going on that
Yeah,
you let
yeah,
us know about, which our deepest condolences to that. I genuinely cannot imagine. My best friend actually went through something similar, a little different, but similar. And I've got two younger brothers, and the thoughts
right,
just, you know what I mean?
right.
So our
Yeah,
hearts are with you guys.
no, we appreciate that. I think it's, the emotions that come with life, you
Mm-hmm.
constantly getting hit with shit you don't even expect.
Yeah, yeah, but it's good to see you guys getting back into the movement and getting back into you guys' routine and what you
Yeah,
guys were doing before and back
yeah,
in grind mode. That's awesome.
right.
So, starting off, let us know a little bit about you, how you grew up. What was your childhood like?
Man, my childhood was rough. It was beautiful, but it was rough. Beautiful in the sense of like the struggle is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you get to appreciate the smaller things, your siblings, your family. So that was beautiful. I grew up with older brother, older sister, and a younger brother, middle child basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was good. It was good. Mom's crossed the border from El Salvador, pops crossed the border from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, first generation of immigrant parents.
Yeah.
So that came with a couple, it came with the pros and cons as a kid. You know what I mean?
Like in what
Uh,
sense?
like the pros was like I wasn't like a kid who you could call his parents if he get in trouble at school because my mom wouldn't understand shit you was saying,
Yeah.
and she wasn't even the one filling out the papers. It'd be my sister. So we used to
Um,
put like my sister's number and shit. So like as a kid, I found that like a pro. You know what I mean?
yeah, you're like, oh, I could get away with
Uh,
hella shit.
but a con was, you know, my mom just knew one thing and one thing only, and that was just like what she was taught, in the Hispanic community. So, and I've said this before, like growing up, there was places that I didn't hear about until I was of age to go find out about it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was like places to go, places to eat at,
Mm-hmm.
because my mom had like a strict routine of like going to work Monday through Saturday. Sunday, it was like she'll drag us to church. Then we'll go to the pulga, which is the flea
Mm-hmm.
market. Um, and it was just like a super repetitive routine,
Yeah.
that we did for years and years. So um, I felt like it boxed me in. But then it's a good thing too, because the moment like I said, became of age, I was everywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere that I can walk into, any type of food I could try. Now I'm like a melting pot now.
Yeah,
So
it gave you that curiosity to
yeah,
go and try new things, explore new
yeah.
places. Did you see your peers experiencing like traveling and all that stuff? Was it ever something that you were aware of, or you just weren't aware of it because of?
I mean, it was my younger years, right? Growing up in Oakland, a lot of people don't even go out of their section.
Mm-hmm.
Their couple block radius,
Yeah.
right? That's all they know. Some people won't even go to the other side of town. But I did have those fews and twos that they'll travel to other countries and things like that. And my mom didn't have papers, so as far as like traveling, that wasn't even an option.
Yeah.
Um, Not only that, but my pops was incarcerated since I was like 4 or 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
so
you
that
didn't really grow it up. Well, how long was he incarcerated for, if you don't
about
mind me
20
asking?
years.
Oh, so a
Yeah,
length of
yeah,
time.
yeah.
What did
So about
that effect have on you?
it had everything. I was the only one out of all my siblings that whose pops wasn't around.
Mm-hmm.
So my older siblings, their dad was around. My younger sibling, his dad was around. Uh, and yeah, I grew up. I grew up without one.
Yeah.
My younger years it hit the hardest. I'll never forget. Growing up like elementary school days, and people would do like activities for Father's Day, or you'll write like these letters to your dad and shit like that. I didn't have that experience. I didn't know who
Yeah.
the fuck to write to.
Yeah.
So like my younger years, it hit more right when you see your peers doing this. And then as I got older, I turned into a type of anger. The
Mm-hmm.
first thing that is at the top of your head is like, man, fuck that. I don't need no dad.
Did
You
you
feel me?
have a relationship with him though when you were younger before he was incarcerated, or was it something where you just knew of him and then he was incarcerated and you guys never really built that bond?
I'm gonna tell you like this. I don't think I've ever talked about this. So you got it. You got some exclusive here on the For
Oof,
the Soul.
thank you.
Um, I used to see him every other weekend.
Mm.
And then one weekend he just never showed up, and I grew up years, like a long time in my life, just not knowing where he was. At some point, I just consider him dead at some point,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it wasn't until I was probably like 15 years old that I seen somebody with my last name add me on Facebook.
Oh shoot.
And then I was like, who the fuck is this? You feel me? So my last name is Miraz,
Uh-huh.
right? And in my whole lifetime, I ain't really met nobody with that last
Yeah,
name.
it's pretty unique.
Um, pop size from Michoacan, Tierras Calientes, and I see the name and I'm like, what the man? I'm 15. I instantly reach out like, who the fuck is you?
Yeah.
And I get a response like, I'm your uncle.
Oh
I'm your
shit.
dad's brother. And before I can say, oh well, how you doing? Nice to meet you. All the shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was like, I was like, where's my dad? And he was like, what you mean? I'm like, what my pops? I ain't seen him
Yeah.
in 10, 11 years. And then he's like, that's a conversation for your mom. That ain't something I could tell you.
Oh
You know what I
shit.
mean? So I'm like, all right. I walk outside. My mom was outside. I'll never forget it. She was outside chilling with my other siblings. And I asked her, like, who's Whoopty Whoop, right? And it was
Mm-hmm.
my uncle's name. And she asked everybody to go inside. So I knew it was a talk.
Yeah.
And long story short, to make the story short, my mom basically kept her from me for 10, 11 years. And
Wow.
she never told me that my pops was incarcerated because she didn't want to, at least this is what I was told, right?
Yeah.
I was 15 at the time, so I don't know how, transparent she was being with me, but according to her, it was she didn't want to get into a habit of me having a relationship of just visiting my dad through a glass.
Yeah.
Um,
The
and
inconsistency.
and she took that decision herself as a mother to hold that from me.
Do you agree
And
with that decision that she made?
no, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's probably the only one thing that I had held against my mom for a long time.
Yeah.
But so she told me the truth, and obviously she tried to, make up for it. Like if you wanna,
Yeah.
have that relationship now. Um, at the time, I was angry. I don't judge her for it now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Just because as parents, sometimes our kids are mad at us all the time
Yeah.
when we got to take executive decisions as parents, right? So I don't hold it against her now, you know, but at the time, yeah, it fucked me up. I was hurt.
Yeah.
And, I was all pissed off. So then I'm like, I get the info from my uncle, like, man, let me know where I can write them, all the
Yeah.
shit. You feel me? And I just sent them like a three sentence letter.
A 3 sentence letter.
3 sentence like this. Maybe it was like one.
Yeah.
All I said was like, "It's me, your oldest son," and that's it.
And did he respond?
He responded, and that was the beginning of that relationship.
Are you guys good now? Did you guys build a bond?
I wouldn't say necessarily build a bond, right? Once again, like this is a first for me, even talking about this, but I think that like getting in communication with him at 15, I was already doing what I was doing. I practically already had raised myself. My mom
Mm-hmm.
obviously was there, but I was raised in the streets. I became a man
Mm-hmm.
on my own.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't until, what was it? My 28th birthday, probably about a year or two ago,
Mm-hmm.
that I seen him for the first time.
Yeah.
He obviously, he's illegal, how the country would
Yeah.
consider him, right? So when he got out of prison, finally, he got deported.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I happen to be in San Diego when I get a message from his girlfriend at the time,
Yeah.
and she was like, "Man, you right over that border." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
your pops is dying to see you. You know what I mean? What do we have to do for you to find it in your heart?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For you to just come over that border and at least give him a hug.
Oh dang.
And from 15 to 28, I kept my distance
Mm-hmm.
because there was still a lot of anger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Honestly, I don't know the who. I don't know who I was angry at. I
I
don't
think
know
you
if I
were,
was angry at him, my mom, or just the situation.
yeah, probably both, probably the
Um,
situation.
so I consulted with my wife, asked for her opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's my partner. I really respect her opinion. I also, consulted with my mom's, and she kept it. She kept it real.
Yeah.
She like, look, at the end of the day, it's your dad. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, if you gotta think about like, are you okay with him passing right now, and you being where you at?
Yeah.
So I took those type of things into consideration, and I'm like, well, we're going to Mexico.
Yeah.
So for the ones that don't know, it's super easy to just walk across.
Yeah.
So I had Uber drop us off at the border, and I walked across. And as I'm walking, um, keep in mind this 23 years later.
Mm-hmm.
The last time
You
I,
guys are inevitably strangers
yeah,
trying to
exactly.
meet again.
So I seen him from a distance. I don't know he had recognized me yet, but I seen him from a distance. And when we first locked eyes, he's like, I could see it in his face, like it's my son. And I could see it too, like when he went to give me a hug, I
Mm-hmm.
could feel like he wanted it to be more like a full hug.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it was just like, oh, like, what's up, Pops?
Mm-hmm.
It was super, we're strangers. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I don't really know too much about you anymore. And naturally, I just don't feel what you may feel as a dad, as a father, because I'm a father now.
Yeah.
Seeing your seed at a certain age, I mean, it's got to be an internally emotional thing.
Yeah.
But from the son side, from somebody who's felt like, he had to raise himself, grew up with all this type of anger and all that type of stuff, it was kind of more like, so,
There's a little bit of a guard. I feel you what you're saying because I relate to that a lot. And there's that I don't want to say it's a wall up, but there's kind of like this it's like getting to know a stranger.
mm-hmm,
It's like you're sitting in that chair right there. It's like me trying to go up to you and hug you like we're freaking sisters or
right,
sister and brother and shit, but
right,
like I don't know you. You know
right,
what I mean? There's a connection that's just not there other than the fact that we know we're
yeah,
blood related, but what does that mean when I really don't know you?
right,
You know what I mean? And I think even with like my real dad, I realized that even culturally I grew up way different than how he raised his own kids.
yeah,
You know what I mean? They're like hella Mexican. I grew up a little bit hood. My mindset is very, very different than his other
yeah,
children. My mindset's different from him. My mom raised me very differently. So I'm like,
right.
we really don't relate that much. It's kind of getting to know each other and accepting like this is who you are and this is who I am.
Yeah, and you know what?
How we gonna
Like,
make that work?
we're different, but we're a little similar.
Mm-hmm.
We're a little similar in the sense of like, I still remember. Well, until I saw him,
Yeah.
I thought I had like all these little blurred memories of our relationship, in my head. And when I finally seen him and we got to chopping it up and I was throwing these memories at him,
Yeah.
I was on point. I was
Yeah.
5'6", probably about my daughter's age, but I really remembered. And the truth is when he had me, he was young. He was in the streets.
Yeah.
You feel me? From Richmond, so he was outside. And I was his oldest, so I was the one that he always used to bring to the block parties, to the park parties. Everybody out there politicking, gang banging, pimping, slanging. You feel me? Dope
Mm-hmm.
boys, all the shit. So like, that was, I grew up around that for
Yeah.
those 5-6 years. Yeah. I mean, at the time, you know, it's like the music I make. Trap
Yeah.
baby, 30 on me, all the shit. Like my pops was living that life. When I was young.
Yeah.
So to a certain extent, we both had the survival of the fittest mindset.
Yeah.
He grew up without a mom. His mom passed away real early. Then his pops passed, so the streets raised him too. So we had a little similar mindset when it came to that. But long story short, we finally see each other, and I'm like, keep in mind, I was only supposed to come over here for a hug,
Yeah.
and just chop it up. But I was like, we're not gonna cut it too short, so we ended up, going out to eat, and we ended up hanging out, and it was cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't really put too much of a title on the whole situation because I'm still unaware of like what the fuck
Yeah.
emotions was going through, but. I just took what my mom said into consideration. You feel me? Like, are you cool with him passing right now?
Yeah.
And will you be, satisfied with the relationship that you
Yeah.
guys
And you
had?
did what you had to do
And
to
I
make
did what
sure
I had
that
to do. So yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't say it like affected me in any crazy way, but it's made me who I am today, and I'm
Hmm.
appreciative of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I have no regrets. I think that that's kind of what has put me on, the front end of my own life.
Hmm.
You know, I was 16, 17, already had my own place, already
Hmm.
paying rent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it was like, in a way, uh,
A
you know the
driving
famous
factor.
the famous quote, that people say, fucking good times create weak man, bad times create strong man.
Yep.
That's just what it is.
Yeah. It's a blessing too
It's a
to have
blessing
that
in
adversity.
disguise for sure.
Isn't it a trip to become a parent and then kind of see from a different perspective, like what our parents were trying to do with us, or like their approaches that they took or lack thereof?
Yeah. Well, it's a little different because when we were struggling growing up, we
Hmm.
were really struggling.
Yeah.
My mom had no other option.
Yeah.
But with our kids, they're not struggling how we were struggling. But if I don't want my kids to grow up, especially my boys, if I don't want them to grow up and be weak men, I
Yeah.
low key gotta have them go through certain
Hmm.
struggles, and not necessarily like financial struggles, but
Yeah.
like
Character
like
building
my
things.
oldest son, like we'll put him on the bus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What you know
Yeah.
about riding public transportation? You feel me?
Yeah.
You know about getting picked up, dropped off, Ubered here, Uber there,
Yeah.
and you probably don't even know the way to your house.
Yeah.
So we'll do little things. I mean, you're gonna ride the bus, BART, whatever type of
Yeah.
stuff that we
That's
grew up
good.
on. Yeah,
That's really good because that does show them a balance of life. It keeps them humble.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Adversity is ultimately the biggest teachers in life, and you got to go through a little character building things here and there to know who you are and who you want to grow into.
Absolutely.
Oh, good for you guys. I
Yeah,
like that approach. I really like that
yeah,
approach. I take that approach with parenting too.
yeah.
We're
Well,
very
we
like,
had a light bulb moment. Everywhere we go, we have specific relationships with people. Even when, like, if I go out to eat somewhere, I most likely know the owner.
mm-hmm,
So one time we were going to a movie theater, and I knew the movie theater owner as
yeah,
well. And he's like, man, just come through. Like, it's good. I would
yeah,
love to have you at my theater. So we're like, yeah, it's good. We want to go watch this movie. Um, Now people always show us love. I don't ever go somewhere expecting the love. You
yeah,
feel me? So we're there, and the guys are like, "Oh, no, 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 don't worry about. Hey, like, I'll take care of them. What y'all want? Y'all want some popcorn? Y'all
mm-hmm,
want something to drink?" And all my
mm-hmm,
kids like, "Yeah, whoop de whoop." Well, one of our kids, if I'm not mistaken, it was probably our oldest. It was one of our kids was all like, "Can we get some candy though?" And in
mm-hmm,
my head, I thought to myself, like, you just seen this man give everything out of love,
mm-hmm,
and your little mindset, it wasn't enough.
mm-hmm.
It was like he done gave us the popcorn, he done gave us the ices, he done gave us the nachos,
Mm-hmm.
and then your head's like, but can you throw in some,
Yeah.
and obviously it's from an innocent standpoint,
Yeah.
right? Um, and they're not at fault, right? We're kind of at fault because of the life we got them accustomed to.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily like they did any wrong as kids, but it was a light bulb for us that's like, hold on, I think they've gotten too used to the community that we've built and what we
Yeah.
worked hard for. You know
That
what I
they
mean?
just expect.
Right.
Yeah.
And they gotta understand that at the end of the day, this is a community that me and mom have built.
Yep.
This is not your community. You
Yeah.
still got your life. You still. It's kind of like I think it was Shaq or somebody that I had seen that was like, "I'm rich, bruh. Y'all not rich. You feel me? It's me."
You got to earn your keep
Yeah,
around these parts.
yeah, yeah. And I think if I'm mistaken, he had said something about like his kids got to get like 2 degrees to
Yeah.
be even able to touch that money,
Good.
because I've seen it plenty of times, and I got plenty of friends that come from silver spoons that they never
Hmm.
had a struggle. And we'll talk about that here in a second, the deeper that we get into this. But I've seen people that literally came from inheritance and all that literally lose their mind over money.
Yep.
So I need my kids to be able to literally be able to survive off of nothing,
Yep.
because you don't never know when dad's gonna go, when mom's gonna go. You don't never know when you're gonna be alone.
You're a smart
And
man.
I don't need my kids, struggling without me.
Yeah.
So there's times I know that they might hate me or they might hate my approach. But I promise you, the older your kids get, right
Mm-hmm.
when they're young, you dress them how you want. You got them all sauced up. You bringing them around everywhere. You just hella happy to have a mini me,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they're boys. You feel me,
Mm-hmm.
as men. But the older they get, I'm like, you need to be able to survive out here.
Yeah, my
Uh,
husband always says all the time he'd rather the kids hate him for doing what he knows he has to do to instill in them their values and principles needed for life. Because as they grow, eventually they'll understand and they'll be able to look back and be like, okay,
yeah,
you did me a solid.
yeah,
And even with that whole like dressing their kids, he loves his shoes. He has his whole fucking collection, right? I thought he was gonna want to be one of those kinds of parent that like, oh, I want my kid to be dripped down and all this and the other. Hell no. He's like, nah, they can get to an age where they earn it, know how to take care of your stuff.
yep,
Better be able to buy your own shoes at
yep,
that too,
mm-hmm,
because yeah, it does teach them that like shit in life is not given to you. You have to earn it,
right,
and you have to fight for it, and you
yeah,
have to um, pretty much learn and
yeah.
grow in order to get the things that you want out of
Yeah,
life.
and they do now.
Yeah.
The same way, right? Like I'm gonna get you your essentials, anything
Mm-hmm.
that's necessary, that's needed. But when you start coming into the want era, like I
Yep.
want this, I want this. This is a trend now, so this is what I want. All right, what you gonna do for that?
Yep.
Right? We got plenty of family businesses instilled in our family that if you want to go make some money to go shopping this weekend, there's plenty of stuff to do. You
Yeah.
gonna bag these new hoodies that just came in. You
Yep.
gonna fold and bag the new shirts that just dropped.
Good work ethic.
Yeah, and it's just that, right? My mom was a single mom, and before she went into the medical field, our earlier years, she cleaned houses.
Mm-hmm.
So we was cleaning houses with her.
Yeah.
And I told my kids that story all the time. I'm like, we was out there cleaning houses for the richer folks. But, earlier you asked a question like, did you see your peers travel or
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that? Did you have an idea of it? Well, honestly, the cleaning the houses is where I got the idea of even dreaming, because
Really?
we used to go to these rich ass fucking houses, and these motherfucking houses that have like 20, 30 bedrooms.
Yeah.
And me and my brother, my older sister would walk in, and I'm like, man, this bedroom would be mine if this was my house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we just had like a way of dreaming, and a way of wanting something bigger, even
Yeah.
though we didn't come from that. So in a way, yeah, some of those trials and tribulations were really just fucking adding to our story. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
That's that isn't it a trip that simple exposure like that can be so significant and impactful in a young child's mind.
right,
My mom has a similar story because she grew up with a drug addict mom and like working in the fields and all that stuff. Um, there was a Christian couple that they used to go to church and they would get my mom and her siblings and they would have all the kids come over to the house and something as simple as the lady baking like cookies for them and just like having a clean house like without the whole trap house vibe kind of thing was so impactful to my mom that there was actually something different out there because all she knew was like that trap house traila style
yeah,
drug addict
yeah,
living that she literally thought that was like, oh, everyone lives like this until she seen that. And when she seen that, she told me she vividly remembers that that was so impactful to her that she knew that this is what she wanted to give her kids. A house that felt full of love where she could bake cookies for her kids.
yeah,
And it trips me out those moments because even though they may seem so small to people, they're so profound and they're so impactful
yeah.
to the trajectory in which you have the drive for your own life.
Right.
That's
And
awesome. Good for
I
you.
think now too, it was something that helped me be more like motivated by people's
Mm-hmm.
success.
Yeah.
Cuz we still do that now, you know what I mean? Like, we're nowhere where we used to
Yeah.
be, right? We're doing pretty goddamn good out here. But we still go around people who have more money than us.
Yeah.
I mean, me and my wife go to parties where there's billionaires in there, millionaires. We go to events where people are paying 3, 4,000 a ticket.
Yeah.
Pulling up in crazy cars or in jets. And I've never had like that hater mentality.
Yeah.
That shit's just motivating to
It
me.
inspires you
Right? It's
to
like
be
the
even
quotes where
better.
people say you kicking it with four millionaires, you're bound to be the fifth.
Yeah.
So I continuously still do that where
Yeah.
I'll go to like, we'll go out there to like Carmel and a
Yeah.
couple of these like rich areas that we
Areas.
have, and we'll go like eat with some friends at the golf course, and I'll be like, damn,
Yeah. And
you
that
feel me?
exposure is good. It's good to
Yeah,
be able to be, people that can wear many hats and be in same spaces with a lot of other people doing a lot of different things.
right.
Keep that inspiration
Yeah.
going. Speaking of success, you've been very successful in your music. Um, what age did you start rapping actually?
I think it was very early on, like 11, 12, just on some like neighborhood freestyling shit with
Yeah.
my big bros in the hood and shit. But I think it was about 15 when I got on professionally fucking with Thiz and Thiz Latin. That was 15 years old for me. I'm 29 now, just turned 29.
Yeah.
So, it's been about 13, 14 years. And it's been a roller coaster, honestly, because I always wanted to make sure that uh, I kept my sanity intact. That's first and
Is
foremost.
that hard to do in the music industry?
When you do it professionally, it is
Why
right.
is that? What factors play into that?
All right, so like we're in an industry and a moment in the game right now where you could be a rapper from the fucking comfort of your bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You release a song, people stream it, you get paid, you go viral. It's super easy. But I come from like that last little bit of that era where you actually had to be, you had to have certain characteristics to even make it in this industry.
Yeah.
You had to be outside, you had to travel, you had to be in people's faces, and it's super easy to lose your family and
Mm-hmm.
even lose sight of what you were really doing it
Mm-hmm.
for. So a lot of people ask me like, why you take these breaks or why you ain't drop something in X amount of years, and it's like because for a long time we was grinding, and yeah, to the people were like, damn, gas is doing this thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't even had a chance to appreciate the fruits of my labor.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a chance to chill with my kids. Um, I hadn't even had a chance to really, take advantage of the new position that we were in.
Yeah.
There was a time actually, for a good amount of time, like we were living in like a decent little home, right? And not because we couldn't upgrade, right? We were already seeing a lot of success, but because I was comfortable and I was working so much, I hadn't even stopped to realize that I can afford a bigger crib for my family now.
Yeah.
So one day, our kids went on vacation for a couple weeks in the summer, and when they came back, we're like, oh, we're gonna go to like one of our friends' house before we go home.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, all right. So we pull up to this neighborhood, and it's fucking super super gated community, security, all the stuff, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the first thing they say when they see like, the gates open, you gotta get checked and all that, and they're like, damn, your friend out here living it up. You feel me? Like this look like Beverly Hills. One of my kids
Yeah.
said, let alone they ain't never been no fucking Beverly Hills to even know.
Yeah.
Um,
They
so
assumed.
yeah, they just assumed, right? So we park up there, and we park at the house and shit, and they're thinking like we about to go to my friend's house, and then
Yeah.
when they get to the door, I'm like, welcome home, like this is us. You
Wow.
feel me? And they're like, hell nah, like nah, you're a cat, you right? Because it was a tremendous crazy ass change from
Yeah.
the first home. Well, not the first home, but the home that they left to this home that they came back. It was like unbelievable. Like, ain't no fucking way this our home. And I'm like, nah, open the door.
Yeah.
So to open the door it was a blank
You
house.
you you spoke about that comfort, right? Of not wanting to take that big next step. Do you think that stems from the fact that just even being a homeowner was such a huge accomplishment coming from where you come from that it was like I'm
Nah,
good?
not necessarily, right? Because I don't. Me and my wife still to this day haven't owned a home.
Oh,
Right, we're
gotcha.
straight renters.
Gotcha.
And primarily because of the lifestyle that we live,
Yeah.
we can't get too comfortable in the home for too long. My kids hate it. My kids love it. It's like a love hate
What do you
relationship.
mean? Why?
Just because the more that we want privacy, the less we get it. You know, so then people know where we
Where your
live,
physical address is and all
where
that's
we
on.
at, and even in some of the recent houses, like, you know, where we were living like around older folks, right? Like
Yeah.
people in their 50s,
Yeah.
you know, and we're thinking like, oh, this is a nice ass neighborhood. Nobody gonna recognize us here.
Yeah.
We had a situation like that happen where, you know, for a long time I was just going by my government name, just
Yeah.
trying to be a regular fucking neighbor. And this is a demographic of majority all white people, right?
Yeah.
And then one of my white neighbors come to me one day like, "What's up, baby? Gas?"
Oh my God. Were
And
you
I'm
like,
like,
fuck?
"Fuck." I'm like, "Who?
Yeah.
Where the fuck you hear that, bruh?" You know what I mean? And he's all like, "Whoopty whoop's grandkid recognized you last time you walked outside and told her, and she'd have told the whole neighborhood." So, yeah, home owning hasn't necessarily been a thing that we wanted to do yet,
Because of the privacy
because
aspect.
of the
You
privacy.
know, there's a police officer that came out with a program or like some kind of technology or something that if you were to purchase a house, you get his program and he swipes all your names off of
Yeah.
any connection of
Yeah,
anything
you
to
know
you.
what? We do that now, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
can you can look up whatever. You know, you're not gonna
Yeah.
find nothing
Yeah.
internet wise. It's not necessarily of what can somebody can look up. It's just about like when you have neighbors,
Yeah.
they got kids, obviously, or grandkids.
Yeah.
So obviously, our end game is one day to, you know, fall into our dream land,
Yeah.
couple acres.
Oh,
So
love that
where
for you
it's like
guys.
no fucking neighbors. Well,
Yes.
we gonna see you coming up the driveway.
Yep. Yep.
But for now, you know, we bounce around a lot. And I think for us, going back to the original question, it was really the comfort of just working so hard that you
Mm-hmm.
hadn't even stopped to realize how far you came already.
Yeah.
You know,
That
you were
makes
just
sense.
so programmed to like, this is our rent, this is what we paying, and
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, we pull up and, you know, you could switch it. And for the ones that, you know how this go, I mean, as renters, we end up paying double.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
that's in a way like, yeah, you know, we're not owners, but we paying more than what an owner would put. You know, we paying the owner's bills. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. No,
some.
for real.
So you know, it's a blessing. But it's a blessing and a curse
Yeah.
because you know our kids just want to be normal kids.
Yeah.
You know, our kids just want
Well, you
to.
got to do what you got to do when you're in this
Yeah.
spotlight and
They're
living
like,
this
man, please
lifestyle.
don't leave. Please don't make me move high schools, or
Yeah.
please don't make me
Yeah.
move from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's what him and I were talking about the other day because we were like really sitting and thinking about our children, right? And our house that we got was like our stepping stone house. We were like, this is doable. We could do it for the next 10 years if we wanted to. Ideally, we would like to upgrade a house, right?
right,
But then we got to talking and we were like, man, for the stability of the kids so that they don't get bounced around, what if we just thug it out here until they're out of high school? And then that's when we get like our forever home, like like somewhere we could retire in, you know?
right.
And there's so many factors that play in, especially as a parent. It's like you want to give them that different exposure and different life in certain areas. But then that stability of like, well, this is all their peers that they grew up with and they're doing good here. Do we want to uproot them from that and put them somewhere else? And
Yeah.
it's just, there's so much that goes into like, how is this going to impact the kids? Is it going to be
Yeah.
negative or positive? You
And
know,
you know
good
what? Like,
adversity, bad adversity.
yeah, I think at the same time, like we tell our kids, it's like it's a little tough because, you know, your life will start for
Mm-hmm.
real when you turn 18.
Yeah.
You know, me and mom, we're currently living ours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And unfortunately, sometimes it may affect you in certain ways that you don't agree with. But anytime that we ever have to make a move or change is because it's time. We're
Yeah.
due for it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the privacy and security of our family is always top
Yeah.
priority. And not necessarily saying like, uh, you know, it ain't like people find out where we live and they want to do something to our
No.
home or nothing. It's not that aspect. It's more like sometimes people will figure out where we live and then like they won't fucking leave us alone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's that type of shit.
No, I
You
hear
know,
you.
UPS drivers, fucking Amazon drive. What's up, baby guys? Here's just dropping off a package to you.
Yeah.
Well, we ain't, you know,
Yeah.
that make me uncomfortable. You know, so I was saying like my younger kids.
Yeah.
You know, my man, go get this package outside, or
They ain't gonna recognize
we
you.
ordered pizza. Yeah,
Yeah.
leave it at the door. You get
Yeah.
me?
No,
Type
I
of
hear
shit.
you. I hear you.
So yeah, but it's been a blessing overall though,
Yeah.
for sure. You know what I mean?
Good. I'm glad to hear. And you guys are so well rounded in your parenting. I love hearing it. I love hearing it because I fuck with it. I relate with it so much. You know what I mean? You just dropped a new EP. We
Yes.
listened to it today.
Did you?
It was very deep. Very deep. I know earlier in the podcast, your wife told me a little bit about the inspiration behind that. And, this pursuit that you're on right now about mental health, men specifically.
Yeah.
Want to break down the inspiration behind that EP and
Yeah. So, I mean, it's that right? Like, I think that so about like a year ago, we ended up losing a good friend of ours, a business partner, a manager, everything in one. Just a great human being. We ended up losing her to suicide.
oh my gosh.
And that was like something that we wasn't like fully recovering from yet. You know, it took some time. Um, and it's not something that you get over. It's
Mm-hmm.
just something that you learn how to live with. So like that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was already kind of like, damn. It leaves you super like in a space where you don't know what to say. You know, we done grew up losing people to the streets our whole life. The
Mm-hmm.
shit was regular. People getting killed. Our day ones, losing them to the system. You know, people dying in car accidents. Like when you have answers to shit, it's easier to digest.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what happened was we ended up losing this friend of ours about a year ago, and then in recent times, in September, we ended up losing my wife's little brother
Mm-hmm.
the same way. Now, keep in mind, my wife's little brother is my little brother-in-law, none less than a blood-related
Yeah.
brother to me. Um, and it just it turned our whole world upside down. I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In the sense of like, you go back to that stage, right? You go back to that place where you got all these fucking questions that you'll never have these answers to. And I think that everybody grieves in their own way, right? As my wife is going through it, my father-in-law is going through it, their grandparents is going through it, I'm going through it, right? These little things are triggering. We just lost somebody the same way recently. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know where to fucking turn. You know what I mean? We took about 2 months, month and a half off, just being with family, surrounding ourselves with family, the people that need us.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, my wife lost her only brother. My father-in-law lost his only son. You know what I mean? So like the pain is deep. Um, and the inspiration behind this project was, to finally speak out about something like this, in the sense of I'm not the type of person to lecture nobody. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? This wasn't an album of me lecturing shit. You know, if you
Yeah.
listen to the project,
Yeah.
I'm not lecturing nobody. I'm not out here fucking screaming out Jesus or pushing any type of religious beliefs. This is a project that I called Fired My Therapist, because I felt like we was going through something. I was going through something. And instead of getting the professional help that the other people would go that route, I felt like, let me put this on wax and leave it there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let me just talk about it. You know what I mean?
Has it been therapeutic to talk about it?
It has um
Has it came with difficulties talking about it?
yeah, I mean, everything is difficult. I mean, it's difficult talking about it now,
Yeah.
but I think that in the music form it's always the easiest, right? I
Mm-hmm.
chose a specific studio with a very close friend of mine who I would allow myself to be vulnerable around.
Mm-hmm.
I brought my wife in there. I brought my two daughters in there. Um, we fucking ended up going to the store, getting some cranberry juice, some liquor, and we recorded the whole EP in one day.
Oh wow.
Um, I told my engineer, I'm like, please just close out the studio for me. Don't let nobody come through. No smoking shit. We don't want to kick it with nobody. We don't want to hang out with nobody. Um, I got these beats already ready. And let's just do what it do.
Yeah.
The project is about 7, 8 songs.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off with one song. The first song is called Not Found.
Mm-hmm.
That one is dedicated, to my brother-in-law. He had a brand called Not Found.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I wrote like a little written piece about it at his service. Kind of where it's like, not found was just something that was created to just let people know that it's all right to not
Yeah.
have an identity sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just grow old trying to figure out who we are, what we're going to do next. It's people's fucking longest battle. And it's cool to just never have that prediction, never
Yeah.
have that answer. Um, so it started off with that song. Now, the people that really have listened to the song, the first 10 seconds of that song is actually his song playing in the
Oh,
background because he was an artist as well.
gotcha.
So we put his song into the beginning and it fades into mine.
Yeah.
And it was like a special dedication to him.
Yeah.
So for this whole project is a dedication to my brother-in-law, uh, Leighton Holman, and then also a dedication to my good friend Tammy Goslin, two people that we lost recently to suicide. And it was just a way, like I said, for me to just express
Yeah.
everything that I've been going through. Same thing with my friends, kids. She's not around no more. All I got is her daughters. So from time to time, I'll come snatch them up, bring them to my house.
Yeah.
They'll play with my kids and we'll eat, we'll cook food, and that's all I
Yeah.
can do. I mean,
Well, I'm glad that you have found an outlet to channel all that grief that you're trying to process. What is grief? What does grieving look like for you guys?
I think, you know, I think my wife is better at grieving than I am.
Mm-hmm.
She's definitely more of like being transparent with her emotions,
Mm-hmm.
which sometimes I'm like, I'm kind of jealous of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, maybe it's a women thing. I don't know. Just
Mm-hmm.
being able to like let your emotions out, be transparent about them. This is what I'm going through today. This is what I'm feeling. Uh, for us men, it's a lot different. We can't. There's nothing we could do.
Mm-hmm.
We might, fucking have a little moment or two, but eventually we gotta keep that shit lit.
Yeah.
Because then we got the kids coming in. Life go on.
Yeah.
So as a man, while you trying to grieve, you got your kids. Like, man, can we go to the store today? Can we go
Yeah.
this? Can we go shopping? I need this? This is coming up. Sports is coming up. So you still got to be you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I actually, besides recording this project, I haven't had no time to do none of that. So I think that, we were talking about this recently. People are like, because we're working on a short film,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for the people that have been paying attention to the rollout, we released a project called Fired My Therapist, but we also released some teasers, part one and part two of a short film that we're
Mm-hmm.
doing that's based around mental health. And it's obviously an acting role, right? I'm playing a certain character
Mm-hmm.
to resemble this whole project, and people are just like, yeah, like there's a certain thing in acting called method acting,
Yeah.
where you use like real life experiences to bring like an emotion to the center.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, there's no need for that. Like I'm going through this shit right now,
Damn.
so it's not necessarily like I gotta dig anywhere. I really just gotta open up,
Yeah.
and it's gonna happen, So Fire My Therapist is really personal to me, man. And it's the first project I dropped in about 2 years.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not really in a space where music is too fun anymore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I said, the industry kind of changed on me. Um, everybody's kind of just like it's watered down. Anybody could be an artist. But for the ones, the fans, the supporters, the consumers, I owe 'em. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? People are big fans. I get messages all the time like, bro, your music done helped me through some shit.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the reason why I put this project in the sense that I put it in, because I felt like, uh, I've said this already before. I'm not sure if I said it in an interview or just a fucking convo with my wife, but I forget his name all the time. What's the dude's name from Mud? Matthew. Is it McConaughey?
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's McConaughey, right? That's how you
Yeah.
say it. So Matthew McConaughey has a book. I'm a big reader,
Yeah.
and I'm a big reader of memoirs. That's just my go-to. Well, he has a book called Green Lights.
Mm-hmm.
And I read it recently. Um, Green Lights is basically what it sounds like. Controlling your traffic lights.
Mm-hmm.
Turning red lights into green lights in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting for the perfect time. It's all about timing. Well, he talks about like a situation in there where he kind of like talks about like going to like a church, or he went to like a pastor of some sort, and like basically like let his whole story out, and like what he was going through and everything he needed help with.
Mm-hmm.
And he just poured his whole self into this dude, and he thought the dude was gonna hit him back with like some advice,
Yeah.
giving some tips, some pointers, something. And he said the dude just heard him out, and then when he was done talking, he just looked at him and told him, "Me too." And then he continued to talk about like sometimes the best advice in the world is not
No.
advice, it's just knowing that there's somebody else going through it too.
Yeah.
So I took that consideration when making this project. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm not here to tell you how to grieve with your pain. I'm not here to tell you to do anything. I'm just made this project in hopes of reaching other people that are going through it and just letting you know me
Yeah.
too.
Well, I feel honored that you guys were down to come on and you were down to be this vulnerable and transparent about it, because that's one of the bases for the podcast.
Right.
That transparency, what you just said
Yeah.
here, sometimes presence is the most powerful gift. And not that you're like physically present in these people's life that are also grieving with you, but that presence of knowing that you're not alone. I know
Absolutely.
my best friend, she'll hear this and she'll relate to it because she lost her brother,
Yeah.
and she's still grieving. Like
Yeah.
you
And
said, it
shout out my
doesn't go
wife on
away.
that too, because my wife was like, "Oh, for the soul." You know what I mean? Like for
Mm-hmm.
the soul for sure. It's the right
Oh,
one.
thanks.
It'll be the right one. And we were here recently.
Yeah, for her.
She was on the show as well. Um, and I think that's kind of where we're back to.
Yeah,
We want to get back to the basics. We want to get back to the people. And then we also want to get back to transparency.
yeah,
Because that's kind of like what we believe in, right? We got our platform as well. And initially, at first, we started as like, we always talk about like communication is key.
yeah.
Communication is key. And then, like, in recent years, we've kind of like evolved from communication is key to transparency is key.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can communicate all you want and not be transparent. It
Yeah,
won't
and
get you no.
comprehension.
Right. And
The
comprehension.
ability
That's
to
it.
understand what people
Yep.
are being transparent about,
Yep.
you know?
So, yeah, I mean, it's a good one.
Yeah,
Go check it out.
it
For
is.
anybody who hasn't tuned in, Fired My Therapist.
Yes.
And thank you to all the producers that did their part. Um, Everybody that had came together to make this whole shit happen. And I just hope that, one day we can inspire other people. Uh, and it's crazy, right? Because there was a situation that happened like 2, 3 days ago where I had like a fan reach out, right,
Mm-hmm.
and was all like, "Hey, bro, life's so fucking crazy, man. My mom knows your mom."
Oh, shit.
Right, and I keep it right. That's another story to itself. My mom
Yeah.
crazy. My mom know everybody.
Yeah.
She work in the medical field, so she bounced around from hospitals to hospitals,
Mm-hmm.
and she's always like showing off her kids. And
Mm-hmm.
people are like, "What the fuck? That's baby Gaz. Like that's your son."
Yeah.
And she just be fucking promoting shit. You feel me?
Yeah.
Well, long story short, the dude's like, man, your mom knows my mom, bro. Fucking small world. Like I'm a huge fucking fan of your shit, bro.
Yeah.
Like I hope that one day like we can meet each other,
Yeah.
through our mothers. My mom is, whoopty whoop, and you just super inspirational. You feel me? And I replied, I'm like, damn, my mom's crazy as shit, bro. I'm like, but it's good, nice to meet you, bro. Hopefully, yeah, one day we connect. Well, I ended up telling my mom like 24, 48 hours later,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm talking to her on the phone, and I'm like, hey, mom, like, one of your friends' sons hit me up, uh, and then she told me, she was like, how long ago did he hit you up? I'm like 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, she told me, well, he got you know put into the psych home today.
Oh,
And
no
I'm like,
way.
what? It's like, yeah, he just not mentally right. And I'm like, ain't no way. Like I just spoke to dude, you feel me,
Yeah.
2 days ago. And she's like, nah, yeah, like something happened. He was ready to fucking take himself out and everybody out.
Fuck.
And it was just a reminder of like, bro, mental health comes in all different shapes and sizes.
Yeah, I think you
And
guys are being really redirected right now in life. You guys have a very higher calling and a higher purpose, and I
yeah,
think
what
it's
you
all
think?
coming together. I don't believe in
You think I'm
coincidences.
gonna be a pastor or something?
I mean, I don't
No,
know. Hey, that
for
one
crazy
lady who
shit.
said you found Jesus, it might be
Hey,
true. No.
hey, no. Let's talk about that because I really wanted to touch on that. Right, like
Yeah.
I was telling her a story about like somebody bumps into me in public recently. It was like, "What's up? Like you look like baby gas." And I'm like, "That's me," and she just like could not believe it. Like she literally made me show her my tattoos. And she was like, "What the fuck?" She was like, "What happened to you, man? They say you went to church, you went on spiritual and shit." And I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?" You know what I mean? And I took a second to myself and I was asking my wife, like, "What the fuck does that mean?" Because I mean, we always believed in God. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
Yeah.
mean, come on,
But
bro.
like you went too holy to be making
I think,
rap music
right.
anymore, and you got a whole shift in your life,
Like
and
I
you're
was
not.
walking around talking about
Yes,
Jesus. You
Jesus.
know what I mean? Like that one dude that be on fucking Instagram promoting. I forgot what's his name. He be screaming Jesus hella loud
Oh,
everywhere.
I don't know. You guys got to show me.
Yeah, we gotta show you. He's like all tatted from the face. And he'd be like, Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
dang! I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Dang, I
yeah.
can't. I
So
think I know who you're talking about.
I thought that's what I took from it. And
Yeah.
I had to just tell her, like, nah, I don't know who the fuck told you that. Like, we've always been spiritual, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've always believed in the higher power, whatever you may call them,
Yeah.
whether it is God, Jesus, Jehovah, Jah, Allah, whatever. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like we believe in a higher power. So, I feel you on that though. I haven't really taken a step back to really realize like, are we being redirected?
Yeah.
I
I
just know that we do what we wake up feeling, and
Yeah.
fuck. I mean,
No,
this
and I think all these external things are happening that are so similar in the impact, right? What are the odds that there would be hit after hit after hit and then story after story that you're hearing of people struggling with these things, right? Maybe that redirection is exactly what you're starting to do now, that EP coming on here, being transparency and vulnerable. You talked about how uh she's the one that struggled, she's better at processing the emotions and the grieving and all that shit. What if you're reaching a point in life where your higher calling is to step in that transparency and vulnerability in a way that you've never had before,
right.
and find a new level of
Yeah.
strength for baby gas.
No, I feel you on that. And you know what? Like I've never been shy from transparency. It's not something that I've barely started doing now. Honestly, the whole like being transparent on the podcast, it all depends on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I'll go on a podcast or I'll do interviews and they'll be like, "Where you from?"
Yeah.
What the fuck am I doing here, bruh? You know how many interviews I got on YouTube that start with that question?
Yeah.
You couldn't even do your homework before having me on? Like,
Yeah.
shit's so repetitive. So I just match people's energy.
Yeah. No
But
good.
but
I mean, emotionally.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah,
mean, emotionally
Well,
vulnerable.
emotionally, I fuck with the vibe here.
Thank
Right?
you.
I fuck with what you're doing. We done watched a couple of your episodes. Honestly, if I'm being transparent, uh, I think that some of the guests that you have on your podcast are not ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when I seen your episode,
Yeah.
my wife's very transparent too. But I think the way that you come off too is very powerful.
Yeah.
It's all about vibes, high frequency.
Yeah.
And some people are not ready for that.
Yeah.
And
No.
I came on here because we're promoting an album, and I knew that was a type of space, that I'm like, we can definitely fuck around. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And there's no shade to nobody, right? I just think that sooner or later people are gonna realize the real purpose behind For the Soul.
Yeah.
Because I see your individual videos. We watch them all the time together. Some of them, hit harder than others. Like, and people gonna watch them at home and be like, "Damn, that hit." But they're gonna come on your platform and act like this shit's a radio interview.
Yeah.
Like it gets a little deeper than that.
Yeah.
And maybe when certain individuals are ready for that, maybe them individuals could come back and do it the right way.
Yeah. No, I feel you with that. I think the podcast is, at least in this area, right, is the more people come on and the more people are vulnerable and share, I think it inspires other people to also do that.
Like,
And
damn,
I feel
I
the
fucking was
shift.
too close-minded when I went
You
on
know,
up.
and I had some people, I've had people that are like, damn, I wish I would have said this, or man, I wish I would have gotten into this. But I think just the whole concept of being so open on a platform where people are watching you and you're kind of showing that layer that you usually keep private, it gets intimidating for some people. And I just tell people all the time, your testimony, I mean, I have it in my bio. The ugliest part of your testimony is the most powerful, you
Right.
know, and there's strength that comes in standing
Right.
in it and talking about it and doing so fearlessly, shamelessly.
Yeah.
You know, people, they're getting there.
Yeah. They get in
They're
there.
getting there. They're going to see this. They're going to
And
get
you know
inspired.
what? Everybody grew up different. You know,
Yeah.
I grew up with a mom who was like super affectionate. You know what I mean? It was I love you, kisses everywhere. Like there wasn't till still to this day. My mom leaves, it's a hug and a kiss.
Yeah.
You feel me? And I always grew up that way, so I didn't fall into that category of like certain kids getting too old to
Yeah.
hug and kiss their mom. I always appreciated that, because I also was taught like this time walking out the door could be the last.
Yeah.
Um, and I've instilled that in my family now, my immediate family that I've created, my kids. I don't care how mad you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to leave this house. I love you. All my kids say I love you. Some of my kids say I love you like every 10, 20 minutes.
Oh, I love
And
that.
you know what I mean? Like, it's just how we instill that in our kids. Even with my siblings, being transparent with your family and my siblings, like I love you, things like
Mm-hmm.
that, because uh with everything going on, life's so short, you don't realize when's the last time you actually told somebody that.
Oh,
And
yes.
I think that now it's like we've always been transparent way before the world was,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're realizing that the world is slowly catching on,
Yeah.
because now through social media, people can relate a little more. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? There's pros and cons to the social media shit, but I think the biggest pro is being able to share your story with other people that can relate without having to make them feel awkward in the same
Yeah.
room.
I
You know what I
agree.
mean? Like I could share a message like through the album.
Yep.
I can have a room full of 20 people and we could get vulnerable and talk transparency, and people will get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But if they hear it through music and they hear it in their individual time by themselves, like we actually did an experience recently. Shout out to my wife because she's the genius behind all these
Mm-hmm.
ideas. We did a listening experience before the album dropped where we had people come in increments of twos, and they would sit down in chairs like this in an all dark room, and we would like smoke a blunt, beforehand so they could
Mm-hmm.
get to know me, and they chop it up with me, and then they'll put on these fucking headphones, and these headphones that take you on this whole fucking experience. Like
Yeah.
you put on these headphones like a super robotic voice, like welcome to Baby Gas's listening experience, and then
Oh,
like
that's
it take
so
them on a whole
tight.
trip, and then for the next 20 minutes they listen to the whole album with no visual distractions, no
Mm-hmm.
nothing,
Just them and their
just them
emotions.
and their emotions. And like you should have seen like people taking off these headphones, they're just
Oh, that's so impactful.
like
That's a
bro.
fucking good idea.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she's a genius for sure. And I think that that's why we do it,
Yeah.
because people aren't ready to have conversations as a whole.
Yeah.
There is people doing their part. Like shout out Mr. Fab, got stuck therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had the chance to go to one, but I know it's something that he does like monthly or every so often, where he brings a bunch of men from different places, all shapes and
Yeah.
sizes, different ethnicities, and he just comes together and they just keep it real and transparent and like let people
Yeah.
know it's good to be in a tough fucking spot.
Yeah.
Because that's always been what I've always pushed from day one. Don't get it twisted. People might know me for 30 on me, ain't safe, life in the
Mm-hmm.
ghetto, and they might have like a certain picture of me as an individual, but I have never, ever been one of those people who feel like they gotta be tough 24/7.
Good.
You know what I mean? Like you know me for real. You know me in person. I joke a lot. I like to have fun. I can be very serious. You can definitely get me there. And there's always room for people to find out.
Yeah.
That's always
A good healthy balance is what you have.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And you know what? Like, I think that that's what the people need. I think that social media has ruined the generations to come by making people feel that they got to be tough
Yeah.
24/7. You
I
know what I
agree.
mean? The new music that's being put out there,
Yeah.
the new images that are being promoted.
Yeah.
But you can, ask anybody who's really in the field, anybody who's active. I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine that recently, came home off, 20, 25 year stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's kind of the conversations they have in there too.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, man, anybody who ever comes in and they got that whole, super tough, we know he for sure full of shit.
Yep. Yep.
Because all of us that out here doing 20, 25 years, like, bro, let's have fun. We got 20 years to go, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're supposed to have fun and, have our laughs and, whole roller coasters. Obviously, people behind them walls, they laughing, they crying, whether it's in front of others or to themselves.
Hmm.
Like, the real fucking gangsters in the world are fully transparent and, they go through them emotional roller coasters. You feel me? And I think that the new generations, they're not really being exposed to that. They feel like if I drop a tear right now, it's over. You feel me? I'm
Yeah.
soft. I
Yeah.
ain't shit. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
hopefully, with all of you guys that are coming on and showing that other side and what it really means to be a man, standing in your power and your influence and position, and just the gems that you guys drop, hopefully, it's lacing these young bucks up
yeah,
from uh, separating that ego a little bit.
yeah,
Because, that ego ain't congruent with longevity.
yeah,
That ego will get you in so much trouble if you don't know how
absolutely.
to maintain
And
it.
it's just around, like you said to yourself, so having those certain individuals to look up to,
Yeah.
and having those certain people to be like, yeah,
Yeah.
you
Good
ain't gotta be,
influences,
you ain't gotta
mentors.
be like this all the time.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had, even though I didn't have my father growing up, I did have a lot of figures in my community that showed me very early on, like you could do it all.
Good.
You know what
What
I
a
mean? You
blessing.
could be fucking, you could laugh now, you could cry tomorrow, you could fucking, slap the shit out of somebody later on tonight. You feel me? And, like I said, it's a blessing and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, in the last few years, we've been doing a lot just more with our family. And,
Mm-hmm.
I know I think we've ended up on social media a few times fucking fighting and doing all that
Yeah.
shit, you know what I mean? And like when people see things like that goes fucking viral, you get hella love, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like there was like one of the most recent times we had like this fucking fat ass rumble at a casino in Reno, right at
Mm-hmm.
GSR, and we're on video, fucking knocking security down,
Both of
knocking
you?
not her.
Oh, I was
She
about to say,
she
oh
doing she doing the wife thing, like
damn,
fucking having my back, but like. Me and my team, we get into it at this
yeah.
casino, and motherfuckers getting knocked out left and right, and people like all praising that shit,
Because
you
it's
know.
the drama and it just that's entertaining,
Right. And
for
then you
people.
drop an
But
album like this where we trying to do something positive for the people or, for mental health in general, and people turn the cheek. You know what
yeah,
I
it's
mean?
because they're not ready for it. One thing I've learned from life is even though the intent is to be impactful, right? And you think, oh man, how would people not like this? This is so real, right? People need this. You mirror to people either where they're at in life or where they're not.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of people are hurting. A lot of people are lost. A lot of people haven't conquered themselves or life, or even have been able to see life through the lens of wisdom, right? And so when you do these positive things and you see how much people are just like, damn, y'all rather engage in drama than something that is so beneficial and impactful to your life, it's always a reminder that like this is exactly why we have to keep doing things like this to normalize this. You know what I mean?
Right.
To give some so that the mirror that people are looking at reflects back to them somewhere where they should be inspired to be this transparent, inspired to heal and grow and all that stuff.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
super powerful.
Yeah.
Well, before we close out, baby gas, let me ask you, what is the biggest lesson you've learned from life?
Uh the biggest lesson I've learned from life. Uh I think right now I'm at a point where, I'm learning that, you gotta be the best version of yourself to be able to be the best version for others.
Mm-hmm.
In the song on Fire My Therapist, um, I say something like, trying to give my fam the better me, but I never try.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that like for a long time, I'm trying to be a good father, good husband, good son, good brother. And I was just in a fucking space where it was like I wasn't good to myself. So they got like the short end of the stick every time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Until I took a step back and started working on myself. And I ain't where I want to be. I'm not fully satisfied when I wake up every day, which it could be a good thing. It's a drive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the more that I spend time on myself, which I went through it with my kids, right? And I just want to put that out there for any fathers out there, because I think that that's one of the biggest stems to this mental health shit is when these fathers out there can't see their kids or
Mm-hmm.
they ain't got the best relationship with their kids. I went through like a point in my life where, you know, I didn't see some of my kids,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And, it really fucked with me. You know what I mean? It really brought me to a very low spot. And my kids couldn't comprehend why they weren't seeing me.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't understand that I was sacrificing something for something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And not just my kids, my nephews, my nieces, they hadn't seen me in years
Yeah.
because I was out there sacrificing a little bit of time for a big amount.
Yeah.
And now where I'm at in my space right now, me and my kids have the best relationships. I see my nieces and nephews often. They got an uncle they could
Yeah.
look up to. It's not like I'm a stranger. So I think that work on yourself.
Yeah.
Work on yourself, better yourself, whatever that looks like, whether it's mentally, physically, and as soon as you get done with that, because you got to be selfish.
Mm-hmm.
I know we come from places where we share. I'm from the hood, so
Yeah.
even if I bought this shit, I gotta share. I
Yeah.
share everything. And I think that sometimes people think that loving on others, whether it's your spouse, your kids, that has to mean like, give them the attention first. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm putting myself first
Mm-hmm.
to be able to give you the best
Yes.
version of me. So that's my biggest lesson is put yourself first.
I love that.
Yeah,
Good for you. Well, baby gas, thank you so
for
much
sure.
for joining the podcast.
Yeah,
It was
thank you for
great
having me.
talking to you and getting deep. I
Yeah,
hope people really get inspired by this one.
yeah,
All
for sure.
right.
Thank you. Come
Yeah, of
on, let's get
course.
it.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care.